What are the features for Spring Boot? We know that. Okay, the Spring Boot main configurations, the main features of Spring Boot is what auto configuration and embedded server and the starters and actuators. Okay, you know that like the purpose of auto configuration, it will provide that automatically the configuration. We don't need to write the number of lines of code. Okay, by using this other Spring Boot application, it will define itself. Like we don't need to write it. Like without writing like these many annotations, all these things. Okay, that the Spring Boot is provided by itself. Okay, that embedded server. Okay, that embedded server is like inbuilt. Okay, now if you want to do like any server related application, simply explicitly we need to download and we need to set the path, all these things we need to do that. But here the Spring Boot will download itself. Like just we need to select that Spring Web starter dependency, like automatically it's going to be download the Tomcat. Okay, starters like till now, like up to MVC part, like Maven, like not MVC, it's Maven. Like we need to download that server, all these things we need to do that. Okay, now we need to select the versions, we need to select the usage, so all these things we need to do that. But like Spring Boot, just when we can select it. Okay, we don't need to worry about like versions. Okay, we don't need to worry about like usages, all these things we don't need to worry about. But actuators about like the health conditions, like environment conditions, about like all the projects requirements, it will take care about like actuators. Okay, yeah. Now the web services is what? Like it is a technology, it is used to transfer the data from like one technology, like one application to another application. Okay, now we have the two types of like web services, like soap based web services and restable web services. So based web services is the language dependent, like in the both applications are like using the same language, then only we can apply that so based. The restful in the sense like it's a language independent, like the both applications are, even though it's a different language, simply the data can transfer easily by using the JSON format. Okay, now already Spring JPARest we did, like, but Spring JPARest, that configuration issue, that's why we'll going to enter in the Spring Boot JPARest. Okay, we'll see that layered architecture today. Like tomorrow, we're going to add that Spring Boot to data JPARest. We'll see that. I'm going to create the project now. New, like we can select here Spring Starter project, not like Maven, not like a Java project. Now here we can select in STS Spring Starter project. Select it. Okay. Now see, it is using like internally that the service URL at spring.io URL. Okay, now here I can select like Spring Boot JPA or Spring Boot JPA. Okay, now the type of project Maven we can select it. The packaging jar or where jar we can select it. And language Java or Kotlin Groovy Java. Now group com.demo as the same as package name. Artifact your package name or like project name is same. Already we are given the name also. Okay. Now like description and the package. Okay, we discussed about like layered architecture. No, right? Yeah. Now click on the next.
లేదన్నా.
Okay, yeah. Good. Now this is the most important. Here we can select the starters, or simply we can say the dependencies. For suppose I want like a Oracle driver, simply search for that Oracle. Okay, now we can select that Oracle. For suppose I want like the server, you can select with like Spring Web. Okay, now I want to select like some like a data JPA, like I want the security. Now like that we can select whatever we want. Okay, for suppose I want like a Spring Web. Okay, select it. Okay, now here we need like a data JPA. Now select the Spring data JPA. In this data JPA, it will work for like a like what like Spring and Spring Core, Spring Context, and the JPA and Hibernate. Everything it will take care. Okay, now we can work with like MySQL. Okay, the MySQL. Okay, now we can select like Spring Boot Doubt also. Okay, without restarting every time, it will provide that fast application restarts, like live reloads, automatically to reload that application whenever we did any modifications. Okay, like till now, like this four is enough for us. Okay, like Spring Boot DAO tools, Spring Data JPA, MySQL driver, and Spring Web. Okay, now click on the next and finish it. The project is created like bottom right corner. If you observe that the project is going to be loading. Okay. Yeah. Now here is our project. Now this is the configuration file. See, the configuration file it's created by the Spring Boot itself. See here, the Spring Boot application annotation also we don't need to create it. Okay, it's created by itself. Okay. Now here we need to create like different layers, right? Now right click on SRC, new, create a package. Now com.demo.model package. Okay, not it is creating inside. No, new the package com.demo.model. Okay, now again package com.demo.service. Why it's creating here? com.demo.model and again DAO com.demo.DAO. Right now we're going to discuss this one. Okay, now here within the model, now we can create now here a class. The class is employee. Okay, service, within the service now we have the two. First one is interface, right? That is employee service. Okay, now within the service now we have that service layer implemented class. Now employee service IMPR. Okay, the DAO, like in new, first one is interface, employee DAO. Now new class employee DAO IMPR. IMPR. Okay. Now within the employee class, now here we can create like a private int emp id. Now private string emp name. Now private int emp salary. Now private string emp address. Okay. Now here we can create like @id. Okay, @id. Control shift to import the package. Now at the import the employee class @entity. Oh, sorry, entity. Okay, done. Now we can create the table name also. Now the table, the name is equal to like layered rest I'm creating or project name, table name. Okay, now here we can create like a getters and setters. Now go to the source, generate getters and setters. Now select all, generate it like a control space default constructor. Again, like go to the source, generate constructor using fields. Now, and I got two string method also. Go to the source, generate to two string method. Okay, done. Okay, now employee class is done. Next, go to the service layer. Okay, within the employee service interface, we need to provide that services. Okay, now I want to add employee. Okay, add employee is going to be take like employee data, employee emp. Okay, now this add employee is return type is like I want to return employee object. Okay, control shift to import the package of employee. Okay, now I want to update employee. Okay, I want update employee. If you want update employee, I want to take like employee object. Okay, now here I want to return employee details. Now employee. Okay, I want to get employee. Okay, if you want to get employee, first we need to enter employee ID. Okay, but I want to print output like employee details. Okay, now I want to delete employee. Okay, delete employee. If you want to delete employee, you need a like employee ID. Okay, now after deleting, I want to print like some string message like employee deleted successfully. Okay, I want to get all employees. To get all employees. Okay, now simply here it is returning list of employee. Then control shift to import the package of java.util.list. Okay, now these are the services provided by the employee service layer. Okay, now go to the employee service IMPL. Now here we need to provide implements now with the employee service. Okay, now place the cursor, add all unimplemented methods. Okay, unimplemented methods are added. Okay, now control S. Now what are the services we have in the service layer? The same services are moving to the DAO layer. Okay, the same services are moving to DAO layer. Okay, within the DAO IMPL also, now we need to go into implements. Okay, implements with what? Employee DAO layer, DAO. Okay, we need to place the cursor. We need to add all unimplemented methods. Okay, now remove this comment. Okay, done. Okay, after this is done, okay, within the DO layer only we are going to start. But like in the earlier in the JPA layer architecture, we use like JPA util class to get that entity object. But here I didn't define any meta of any XML file, any Java file, nothing. But then how are you going to get like entity object? Now directly I'm going to get here object carefully here private like entity manager. Okay, now entity. Now above this entity manager, I can use at the data persistence context. Okay, control shift to import the package. Now this persistence context is the responsible to create a object of entity. Okay, this object directly we are going to get by using at the date persistence context. Okay, this context is going to be wiring with internally the DAO layer. We are going to get that entity object finally. Okay, by using this entity object, if you want to add employee, now entity dot persist of emp. Now I want to return employee data, right? Now entity dot find of like employee dot class and emp dot get emp id. Okay, now we inserted the data. I want to update the data. Okay, if you want to update the data, now entity dot merge method you can use emp. Okay, if you want to get all employees, okay, if you want to get all employees, now entity dot find method. Here we can use like employee dot class. Now here we can use emp id. Okay, if you want to delete employee, first I want to find it. Now entity dot find employee. Now employee dot class file. Now here we can pass emp id. Okay, emp id. Now this find method is return type is like employee object. Now employee EMP, yes. Okay, EMPS. Now, if EMPS is not equals to, okay, not equals to null, or simply here it's equals to null, or simply here it is a not equals to null. Okay, I want to remove entity dot. Okay, now remove of EMPS. Whenever it is removed, I want to return employee deleted successfully. Okay, employee deleted successfully. Okay, now otherwise, else, now employee not found. Okay, no employee found. Okay, no employee found. Now get all employees. Okay, if you want to get all employees first, entity dot get all in the sense like a lot of employees, but by using find method we can fetch only one record. Okay, but if you want to fetch multiple records in the JPA, we can go with like JPQL. Okay, now we can write a create a query. Okay, in this create query, then how we can fetch all the data. Now select E from employee E. Now I can, without typecasting, I can write like a employee dot class. Now it's going to be written like typed query. Okay, now employee, now TQ. Okay, now TQ dot get a result list. Okay, control list. Now the DO layer is done. Okay, this DO layer is done. Okay, now the data is right now in the DO layer. I want to move to service layer. Okay, now within the service layer, if you want to access the DO data, we need to create an object of the DO, but we are not going to create, like we are going to get the DO object. Then how we are going to get? Now simply here private employee DAO. Now DAO above this DAO object. Now add the data auto wired. Okay, the DAO object is wiring with automatically to that service layer. Control shift to import the package. But here if you observe, now we need the DAO object, but the object is not created right till now. Then how we are going to create it? Above the DAO IFL, we can use the repository annotation. Okay, this repository annotation is a created DAO layer object. Okay, now in the service layer, now again we can write at the rate service annotation. Okay, now you know that right, in the JPA layer structure, in the service layer, we need to write like begin transaction and commit transaction, begin transaction, commit transaction for the add employee, update employee. Without writing all these things, we can use like a transactional annotation. That's it. Okay, now we don't need to write like a begin transaction and a commit transaction. We don't need to write it. Okay, the service in the sense like it is a creating service layer object or being. Okay, now it is a wiring with the service IMPL. Now within the add employee, now DAO dot add employee, now DAO dot update employee, now DAO dot get employee, DAO dot delete employee, now DAO dot get all employees. Okay, done. Okay, everything is okay, but we need the controller layer, right? We need the UI layer. Okay, now that UI layer here we can use by using the web services concept, the REST endpoint, the REST URL, we can create that. Okay, the REST controller class we need to create it. Okay, now if you want to create like controller class, now you can right click on the package, new, create a package. The package is the com.demo. Controller class. Okay, in this controller, now simply we need to create a class. The class is like employee controller. Okay, employee controller. Now it is a normal class, right? If you want to act as a controller class, now above this controller class rest controller we can use it. Okay, above rest controller we can use it. Okay, here the point is here. Now the concept is two applications, right? Okay, web service in the two applications. Here, as a backend developer, we are using the Postman to test our code. The Postman, it's one application, and here the Spring Boot. Okay, now finally we have the database. Okay, now we are sending the data by using Postman. Like for suppose like employee ID, employee name, employee salary, employee address. By using Postman, we are sending the data. The data is going to be entered into the Spring Boot. Okay, within the Spring Boot, first it will enter into controller layer. Okay, first it will enter into controller layer, then service, then DAO, then to the database. From the database to like DAO, service, controller to Postman. It will display the data again, Postman. Okay. Now we can use we need to download the Postman also. The Postman will be like this. Now you can go to the Google. Now you can download Postman. Okay, download Postman. Now simply you can click on this one, the first link. Now here you can download it. Like it's loading. Now here you can download it. Okay, if other like platform, simply you can use it. Okay, now this is the application we are going to do that. Okay, this thing we are going to do that. Okay, first we need to complete the controller. Within the controller we can write rest endpoints. Okay, some handler methods we can use, like rest endpoints, so we can write it. Okay, endpoints we are going to write it. Now here, whenever from the Postman we are sending the request, the request is going to be entered into first controller layer. Okay, now we need to get like a one handler method, that is a request mapping. Okay, this mapping is going to be informing that class level URL. Okay, the class level URL. Simply how we are going to write in a sense here, like we can write some protocol HTTP ://localhost : our application is running on some port number like 6789, like slash what is the class level URL, that is a class level URL. Simply I can write like class level URL and again method level URL. That's it. Okay, method level URL. Now this is a protocol. Okay, on this port number in our application, in our machine. Okay, it's running on some application. Okay, in this application, in this project, now what is the class level URL? Okay, now in the controller layer we are going to write the class level URL. Okay, we are going to write some method. Now see, first I will add the data. Okay, then you can understand easily. Now public employee, but we need like service layer, right? Okay, service to controller. Now here we can create like service layer object. Now simply here private. Now employee service to service. Okay, control shift to import the package of service. Now here we can auto wire at the rate auto wire. Okay, now we can wire with. Now employee like add employee. If you want to add employee, we need like a employee object. Okay, control shift to import that employee package. Now it is returning return service dot add employee. Okay, now employee add. Okay, now this method level URL is what at the rate of post mapping. Okay, post mapping. Now slash I'm going to use add. That's it. Okay, now instead of that post mapping we can write request mapping also, no issues on that. Okay, now like later version, simply that higher version, simply they mentioned like they separated the method handler methods separately. Okay, if you want to insert it, we can use a post. If you want to update it, we can use a put. If you want to get that, if you want to get the details, you can use a get. If you want to delete it, delete mapping, we can use it. Okay, now here I want to add the data, right? Now, but suppose our application is running on some port number, but like we are not created till now any port number. By default, the port number is the 8080, but the 8080 is running on some automatically like Tomcat. Okay, now where we can mention like our database and like Hibernate configuration. Now here under SRC main/resources, here you can see that application properties file is there. Okay, now here we can write our port number like server dot port is equal to some any four numbers. Okay, any four numbers is enough. Now again we need to provide like database properties, right? Now database properties, and again like JPA properties we need to provide it. Okay. Now without writing all these things, that we are going to get Google also. Like okay. Now see here. Uh, this is our database name, root, and everything is okay. Update true. Yeah. Now see here. The database properties here, URL, username, password, and driver class name. These things are present in Spring.data source. Okay. Now this hibernate.dj is spring.jpa, spring.jpa, spring.jpa. Okay. These properties we provided. Okay. Now controller save the file. Okay. First, we need to run our project first. If you want to send the data, then how I can send the data? Before going to send the data in the employee controller, I want to write some URL for okay, this add employee. HTTP colon slash slash localhost localhost colon. Our application is running on which port number? Now 7463 port number running. 7463 slash what is the class level URL? EMP. Now this class level URL is EMP. Now what is the method level URL? Add. Okay, the request is going to be entered into that up to this method. In this method, add method, what is the logic? It will go to the service dot add employee. Go to the service layer, add employee. Okay, service layer, add employee. Within the service layer, add employee. What is the logic? DO layer, DO dot add employee. It will go to the DO layer, DO dot IMP. Okay, within the DO layer, add employee. What we have? It will persist in the database. It will find that employee ID. Okay, by using entity object. Okay, this thing is going on. Okay, now observe carefully here. By using Postman, whatever that URL I created here, now simply I'm going to copy this one, control copy. Now we can paste it here. But we are using inserting, right? Inserting in the sense like you can see the get option here, but we're not going to use a get. We can use a post. Okay, posting in the sense inserting. Now where I want to insert the data. Now here you can see the body. Click on the body. Okay, select raw. Okay, you can use if you select the raw text format, JavaScript format, JSON, HTML, XML. Okay, we can select the JSON. Why JSON? In the sense it is a lightweight to transfer. Okay, now whatever that model package or model class we have, the model whatever that we have, the same names we need to provide. EMP ID, EMP name, EMP salary, EMP address. Now these keywords only we need to mention here. Now within the double quotes, with the JSON within the double quotes. Now EMP ID, some name like 789, comma, like EMP, like name, colon, now, comma, EMP salary, now, colon, suppose, now, comma, EMP address, now. Okay, this is the data. See here, observe carefully. The Postman is a different application and Spring Boot is different application. Okay, the two applications are going to be interacting with each other. I'm transferring the data by using Postman to Spring Boot application. Okay, now I hope like you have some doubt. You're sending that JSON data, but the Spring Boot application can understand only object. Okay, object. Then how they can understand? How they can convert? Now, see here, whatever the data I entered here, this is entire employee object. Okay, this JSON data is going to be converted into employee object. EMP will store. But if you want to store that conversion of JSON to Java object, how we can convert in the sense before this employee, we can use at the data request body annotation. Okay, this request body annotation is converting JSON to okay Java object. Internally, we have one jar file. There is a Jackson jar file. Now, if you observe like Subway, now here this is Jackson jar file is responsible to convert like one form to another form. Okay, now okay, I want to first. Okay, if you want to send the request by using Postman, first you need to run the project. Okay, now first we need to run the project. Okay, here also you can run it, no issues on that. Now right click on run as a Spring Boot application. This is also one process, and here also the boot dashboard also we have. Now here we can see directly whenever the project is running, we can see that our port number also. Where is our project? Now here we have. Okay, execute it. The project is running. Now see the table is created. The table is created and our application is running on support number. Say Tomcat started on port number 7463. Okay. Now I am going to sending the request. Now see, whenever they're sending the request, this request is going to be entered into the like Spring Boot controller layer, controller to service, service to the DO, DO to the database, and again it will fetch back to the response. Okay, if data insert అయితే మళ్ళీ ఒకవేళ database లో data insert అయితే ఈ response page లో మళ్ళీ output ఇది వస్తుంది అనమాట. Okay, this is the response. This is console. If I send the request, now see the data is inserted perfectly. Okay, in the database. Okay, if you want to check it, now I want to open that MySQL. Okay, now local instance. Now at the rate of 1, 2, 3. Now where it is? Here we can use this database. Use this database. Now select two tables. Now see here we have a layered rest here. The layered rest we have. Okay, now even though I want to search it, select star from layered rest. Now see we have the data. Okay, now one application to another application, we transfer the data. The same way here we can do that, like update employee, delete employee, get employee. Okay, now observe carefully here. I can write like a update employee. Okay, update employee. If you want to update employee, simply here public like employee update employee. For this update employee, we can pass that employee data emp. Now if you want to update, we can use what? Post mapping, either it put mapping. We can use that put mapping. Okay, for if you want to update, like slash update, I can use it. Okay, now within the double quotes, that this is a method level URL. Okay, method level URL. Now here service, it will return service dot update employee. Okay, it's done. Now here, what is the URL? We can write it. Okay, I can stop the project meanwhile. Okay, now here up to that class level URL is the same. Now we can add slash update. That's it. Okay, now I want to get employee details. Okay, now get a employee. If you want to get employee, now here we can write public employee get employee. Okay, here I can write int emp id. Now here it will return service dot get employee by emp id. Okay, now but here also the data need to be from that JSON, right? Now here we can write a request body. That's it. Now if you want to get employee, now we need to use like a get mapping. Okay, get mapping is using like a slash get. We need id. Based on the id only we are getting it. Slash we can use some curly braces id. Okay, this id need to be accessed right here. Now here we can use path variable. Now this id should be, which id need to be matched. Now whatever that id you mentioned here, this id should be passed to like this path variable. Okay, now delete mapping. Okay, delete employee. For the delete employee, now public string delete employee. Okay, if you want to delete employee, we need employee id. Now here also will be the same thing. Now here also I can write that URL. Now up to class level URL is the same. Okay, now slash get slash some ID, we need to use it. Okay, now if you want to delete employee, now we need a delete mapping. Okay, for the delete mapping, slash del slash curly brace ID, we can use it. Okay, if it is ID, we can use what? Path variable at the rate path variable. Here you can use some ID, both should be matching. Yeah, now here it will return. Okay, it will return string type, but we need to return service dot delete employee now, but it will return string type, return employee deleted. Okay, employee deleted. Now if you want to get all employees, get all employees, if you want to get all employees, simply here we can write what? Public list of employee. Now get all employees. Now here you can write Control Shift to import the package of list. Okay, now it will return get all employees. Sorry, service dot get all employees. Done. Here we can write it at get mapping. Again, it is also get all, right? Now slash we can use get all. That's it. Here that URL we can write it. Here also will be the same, but here we can write del. Okay, del mapping. Now here we can write get all. That's it. Okay, now observably I'm going to restart the project again. See here, our project is up and running. The project is running on like 7460 port number. Okay, I want to insert like one more data. Okay, now add the same thing. Now simply line 907. Like I want to use a different data. Okay, now send the request. The request successfully inserted. And again, one more data I want to insert, like simply here. Okay, now send the request. Okay, now 3 records we have. Okay, I want to get all the data. Okay, if you want to get all the data, you can use what? Get mapping. Now, what is the URL for the get all the data? Now, here this thing. Okay, control copy. You can use that URL. You can paste it here. Control V. Now, send the request. Now, see the data, we are going to get all the data here. Okay, from the database only, we are going to get 162, 789, and 907. Okay, I want to get only single employee. Now, get slash for suppose like a 789 data you want to get. Now simply send the request. Now here we got like Karthik data, we are going to get only single data. Okay, now I want to update it. Okay, now simply here update. Okay, for that update we can use what? Put mapping. Okay, now which employee data you want to update? For suppose like a 162 data if you want to update, instead of that I can use third, like 6364, like Harman. Okay, now I want to update that. Earlier 162 data like Mahesh, right? But I updated. If I send the request, see the data is updated. Okay, the data is updated. If you want to see it again, you can use that get mapping. You can use get a slash 162, right? So if you want to see that, see we can see that 162 third 664. Okay, I want to delete that. Okay, I want to delete that. Now del like 789 I want to delete it. Now you can use the delete mapping. Okay, now 799 send the successfully. See here, employee deleted. Okay, now we have only 2% remaining. Okay, if you want to see that all the data, now get all, you can use that get mapping. Now send the request. Now here we can see only 2 employees, 907 and 162. Okay, like this. Okay, for suppose simply here I want to get okay, by mistake I enter like wrong number, I want to get it. If I send the request, now here we are not getting anything. Okay, for suppose simply here I want to delete it. Okay, delete something like a 7 8. You can use like a delete. If I send the request, now employee deleted, but without having any data, how it is deleted. Okay, now this type of situation simply we can write some exception handling. Okay, now like we can add some exception landing, and one more point here, whatever the data we have in the service layer, the same data is repeated in the DAO. Okay, now tomorrow we are going to do that data JPA, in the sense like we can remove, like we can delete this entire file, we don't need it. Okay, this entire DAO we can delete it, and again the DAO layer, these things also we can delete it. Okay, now again in the model package, now we are writing all the getter setters and like a param constructor, default constructor, everything, right? We can remove this one also, we can add that annotations. Okay, iterate getter, iterate setter, iterate, like all these things. Okay, yeah. Now tomorrow we can do like all these things, we can concise the code somewhere. I hope like till now are you clear, right?
Yes, Baba.
Yes, Baba. Yes, yeah, Baba. Now I will share the project, like today by e-board I will share the project, everything till now whatever we completed. Okay, yeah, done. Yeah, we can leave.